I'm Danielle Hale, Chief Economist at Realtor.com. As the fall air grows crisper and the federal government remains shut down, I'll share what we learned from the release of the last Fed meeting minutes and what's happened to mortgage rates. I'll dig into survey data on how consumers are approaching the housing market and the information sources they're using. Then I'll turn to trends on the hottest housing markets, all-cash home sales, and the latest weekly stats. Finally, we've been preparing for weeks, and the national best time to buy is now. I'll highlight why this week stands out for buyers. First, the federal government shutdown stretched past the 1-week mark, interrupting data releases and likely delaying some home closings. Mortgage lenders have received guidance from Fannie and Freddie on steps they can take to minimize disruption, which will certainly help. One bright spot, BLS employees are being called back to produce the September inflation report. This data is necessary for Social Security cost of living adjustments, and as a result, the Fed will have one additional data point before their next meeting and rate decision. Against this backdrop, the minutes from the last Fed meeting were released. While housing market softness was on the mind of some at the September meeting, my takeaway was that the minutes were a tad more hawkish than expected, underscoring the importance of getting that extra inflation data. Mortgage rates slipped back this week, marking a 5th week in the recent range and also 5 weeks below 6.5% so far in 2025. Mortgage rates were lower than they are now for just 4 weeks in 2024. Homeowners with higher rates who hesitated and missed that refinance opportunity may want to get in touch with a lender now. Survey data showed that consumer attitudes toward home buying were little changed in September. But notably, even as mortgage rates improved in the month, consumers were less likely to expect further improvements. A separate Realtor.com survey on information sources tapped by consumers showed that a majority of Americans are embracing new tools for real estate insights and housing-related content, including AI and social media. Still, real estate agents came out on top when respondents were asked about sources that made them smarter, sources considered accurate, and those worth the time spent using them. Even as temperatures drop, some real estate markets continue to bring the heat, and they're overwhelmingly found in the Northeast and Midwest. Interestingly, the New York metropolitan area was the biggest major market mover in the last year. Digging deeper, however, reveals wide variation within the market. While many New Jersey suburbs are red hot, Manhattan and Queens are still quite cool. Another Realtor.com report found that cash sales remain high, comprising nearly 1 in 3 recent home sales, despite slipping slightly from a year ago. Cash sales are even more common at the very high and very low end of the price scale, accounting for a majority of sales priced below $100,000 and those above $2 million. Weekly housing data showed a modest uptick in new seller interest this week, but growth remains lower than we saw earlier in the year, prompting more modest active listing growth amid flat home prices. Finally, the best time to buy a home nationwide is here, October 12th through 18th. Buyers this week can expect lower competition, notable savings on pricing, and more homes on the market than at the start of the year. Along with the national average, 21 of the 50 largest markets see peak buyer conditions this week. If you've been waiting for your chance, the time could be now. You can find all the details, including full reports and our housing data for download at Realtor.com/research. You can also follow us on X, formerly Twitter, for real-time updates and Instagram for graphics.